In 2008, Marvel was betting the house on a movie that could have ended the studio for good. Their lead actor was a guy fresh out of career rehab with a past that made insurance companies nervous. That actor was Robert Downey Jr., and the role was Tony Stark. That choice turned out to be lightning in a bottle. Downey's Tony Stark launched a movie that sparked a chain reaction, building the most successful film universe in history. 15 years later, the man who was once Marvel's biggest gamble has become its most noticeable absence. Now the cracks are starting to show, and the question is unavoidable. Without him, can the MCU survive? Back in the late 90s, Marvel was nowhere near the superhero giant we know today. It was broke. Comic book sales had crashed hard, and in 1996, the company filed for bankruptcy, owing hundreds of millions of dollars. To survive, Marvel sold off the movie rights to its most famous heroes. Spider-Man went to Sony. X-Men went to Fox. Fantastic Four was gone too. The heroes that could bring in big money were now in someone else's hands, and Marvel was left with a bunch of characters most people outside comic shops had barely heard of. Jump to 2005, and Marvel made a move that can only be described as gutsy. They took a $525 million loan from Merrill Lynch, using the film rights to the characters they still owned as collateral. If they failed, they would lose them forever. Their first movie was not about a hero everyone loved. It was Iron Man. At the time, Iron Man was not exactly a pop culture icon. Even seasoned Hollywood folks thought making him the star was a strange choice. Then came casting. Marvel picked Robert Downey Jr. Yes, he was talented. He was also fresh off a well-known history of arrests and rehab. Many insiders called it career suicide for Marvel to put their first movie in his hand. But when Iron Man hit theaters in 2008, everything changed. RDJ's charisma, humor, and heart made the character unforgettable. The movie pulled in over $585 million worldwide, and critics praised it for its fresh style. That single risk lit the fuse for what would become the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and turned a company on the edge of collapse into one of the most powerful forces in Hollywood. When Iron Man hit big, it didn't just change Marvel. It flipped Robert Downey Jr.'s entire career upside down in the best way possible. What most people don't realize is that for all the work he put in, Marvel only paid him around $500,000 for that first movie. $500,000 is great if you win the lottery, but for the guy who just launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's barely a warm-up check. Marvel was still the underdog back then, so they played it safe with salaries. But once Iron Man became a phenomenon, RDJ's stock went through the roof. He wasn't just playing a character anymore. He was the MCU. The charm, the wit, the emotional core, the whole thing revolved around him, and Marvel knew they had to lock him in. That's when RDJ started making the kind of deals every actor dreams about. Not just a flat fee, he got a slice of the profits. So when the MCU went from cute experiment to printing billions, he was right there cashing in. By the time Endgame rolled around, it wasn't just another payday. Reports say he pulled in somewhere between $50 and $75 million for that single film. That's not money you spend. That's money you pass down to future generations with a note that says, "You're welcome." It's the ultimate Hollywood glow-up. From a cautious hire to the highest paid star in the game. From proving himself to owning the screen. And honestly, without that rise, without him, Marvel's empire might have never been built in the first place. After Robert Downey Jr. locked in his place as Marvel's biggest star, he did something even more important. He gave the Marvel Cinematic Universe its personality. Before Tony Stark showed up in 2008, superhero movies usually leaned either dark and moody or cheesy and forgettable. Then Iron Man hit the screen and everything felt different. Tony Stark could be building a weapon in a cave or fighting for his life and still drop a perfectly timed insult. He flirted with danger as easily as he flirted with people. That confidence mixed with humor became the blueprint for Marvel's style. It was not just about delivering jokes. RDJ shaped the lines, improvised moments, and added small details that made scenes unforgettable.
Be thankful that your meaningless lives are now contributing to the balance.
Earth is closed today.
The I Am Iron Man ending was his idea, and it set the tone for every Marvel movie that followed. Marvel saw the reaction and leaned in. From then on, fast banter and sarcasm became a core ingredient. Look at what came next. The Guardians of the Galaxy firing insults at each other in the middle of battles. Spider-Man making awkward quips while swinging into danger. Doctor Strange throwing dry jabs at his allies. All of them carry a bit of Stark's DNA. The MCU became a place where the heroes felt human, even when they were gods or talking raccoons. Without that personality, Marvel might have gone for something safer and more traditional. Instead, it became fun, unpredictable, and endlessly quotable. Robert Downey Jr. shaped Marvel's personality, and he also became the anchor that kept the Avengers from falling apart. From the first Avengers film in 2012, Tony Stark was the energy in the room. Surrounded by gods, soldiers, and scientists, he could throw a sharp line at Steve Rogers, tease Bruce Banner about the other guy, and still lead when things went bad. That mix of humor and authority made the team feel like real people sharing the same mission rather than actors reading lines. In Captain America Civil War, Stark was not a background piece. He drove the entire emotional core of the story. His conflict with Cap was more than a fight about politics. It was personal, full of regret and pride, and strong enough to split the MCU into two sides.
A hero? Like you? You're a laboratory experiment, Rogers. Everything special about you came out of a bottle.
When Infinity War arrived, the stakes for him were at their highest. The battle against Thanos on Titan mattered because audiences knew Stark had been carrying the weight of the team for years. Every punch and every loss felt like it could break him. The box office proves his impact. The 4 Avengers films with RDJ at the center earned over $7 billion worldwide. That is the kind of success that keeps a studio alive for another decade. Without Tony Stark, the Avengers risked feeling like a collection of solo heroes. With him, they became a team that joked together, fought together, and in the end, cried together. His final moments in Endgame were not just a farewell to a character, they were the moment Marvel lost the heartbeat of its universe.
Hey, Mr. Stark, can you hear me? It's Peter.
Robert Downey Jr. led the Avengers on screen, and off-camera, he was the one who made the set feel like a second home. Tom Holland tells the story of his first day filming as Spider-Man. He was nervous, surrounded by some of the biggest names in Hollywood. RDJ picked up on it instantly. In one scene, instead of going for the scripted handshake, he pulled Holland into a hug. The awkward reaction was real, it broke the tension, and they kept it in the movie. That little move turned Holland from shaking to smiling in seconds. Chris Hemsworth remembers how, during the first Avengers film, Downey organized cast dinners before shooting began. Those evenings built a sense of family that carried into their performances. With a massive superhero lineup, that bonding is the secret ingredient that makes it feel like a real team instead of a bunch of solo stars. RDJ also took care of his co-stars behind the scenes. If someone was struggling with a scene, he would walk through it with them until it clicked. When the schedule got too intense, he was the one suggesting short breaks so people could keep their energy up. Some of the MCU's most memorable moments came from his improvisations. Directors trusted him to tweak lines and scenes because he had such a deep understanding of Tony Stark. Even the now famous shawarma post-credit scene in The Avengers came from him tossing out the idea after shooting a battle sequence. That mix of leadership, kindness, and creativity turned RDJ into more than a star of the franchise. He became the mentor, the tone setter, and the reason the Marvel family worked as well off-screen as it did on-screen. When Tony Stark sacrificed himself in Endgame, fans lost more than a character. Marvel lost the man who had been its center for over a decade. The MCU is still a financial giant. Across all releases, the franchise has pulled in over $30 billion worldwide. But the trend lines have been shaky. Quantumania opened with $106 million in its first weekend, but then dropped nearly 70% in its second, which is one of the steepest declines in Marvel history. The Marvels earned only $206 million worldwide, making it the lowest grossing MCU film to date, even though it had a budget close to $275 million. Compare that to the RDJ years. Avengers Endgame made $1.2 billion in its opening week and crossed $2.79 billion worldwide. Even smaller Marvel titles like Iron Man 3 crossed the billion mark. Fans showed up multiple times, dragging friends and family along for repeat viewings. The difference is also in the atmosphere. Endgame had sold out theaters for weeks, fans cosplaying, and audiences cheering at nearly every scene. More recent releases have seen opening excitement fade quickly, with some theaters half full by the second weekend. It is not that the new heroes are bad, it is that the universe no longer has a clear emotional anchor. Tony Stark's quick wit and confident presence tied every storyline together. Without him, it often feels like Marvel is juggling characters without a leader at the center. The MCU is still standing strong, but the emotional pull that once made it unstoppable has weakened. Many fans agree that the moment Robert Downey Jr. left was the moment the golden age of Marvel started to fade. Some people believe Robert Downey Jr. could walk back into the MCU tomorrow, flash that Stark grin, and instantly fix everything. It is a nice thought, but the reality is more complicated. Industry analysts will tell you that no single actor can carry a billion-dollar franchise forever. The secret to Marvel's early success was not just one man. It was sharp writing, confident direction, and a long-term plan that made every film feel connected. Without those, even the biggest star can only shine so bright. Still, there is no denying what RDJ means to fans. He is the face of the golden era. The moment his hologram said, "I love you 3000" in Endgame, It felt like Marvel was closing a chapter it could never fully reopen.
I love you 3,000.
And the numbers back up the hype. A cameo in Spider-Man: Homecoming helped push that film past $880 million worldwide. When his name is in the credits, the box office almost always jumps. Imagine him returning in a multiverse storyline or a flashback. The internet would melt, ticket pre-sales would explode, and for a moment, Marvel would feel unstoppable again. Speaking of his return, Robert Downey Jr. is back on Marvel's stage, but this time, he is swapping the red and gold armor for a green cloak and a cold iron mask. At San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel revealed he is stepping into the role of Victor Von Doom, the legendary Doctor Doom. His first appearance comes in the Fantastic Four: First Steps, where a shadowy mid-credits scene shows him walking through the Baxter Building before pulling back the hood to reveal that unmistakable voice. From there, he becomes the main villain in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, both under the direction of the Russo brothers and set for 2026 and 2027. The idea of the man who helped shape Marvel's personality returning as its most dangerous threat is a wild twist, and the fan reaction has already been explosive. Experts might argue that no one actor can save the MCU, but for the audience that grew up watching Tony Stark crack jokes and save the world, seeing RDJ on screen again could bring back the magic that has been missing. If you miss Tony Stark as much as we do, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into Marvel's highs and lows, and drop your favorite Iron Man moment in the comments. Let's see which scene wins the battle for Stark's greatest hit.